Good morning, all. I'm back outside working. Am I synthesizing vitamin D? Yes, but is that all I'm getting? No. Am I getting improvements in my blood pressure? Yes. Am I getting improvements in my mood? Yes. Am I getting improvements in my appetite control? Yes. Am I getting improvements in my mood stability? Absolutely. They're through different wavelengths of light and through different mechanisms in our body which respond to the sunlight. So if you're not getting sunlight, if you're not getting daylight, you restrict your body's signalling to have a positive impact on those areas of your life. There's a reason that people with depression in the winter get depression in the winter, or seasonal affective disorder. There's a reason that happens, due to lack of light. There's a reason that there is a close link between gut health and depression, because of serotonin production. Most of serotonin production is produced in the gut, and can we help with the gut through sunlight? Yeah, we can. Can we help with serotonin production? Yes, we can. Can we help with blood pressure? Yes, we can. Through vasodilation and through nitric oxide release. It's a wonderful thing, the sunlight. It's just we've been told to be scared of it for ages, and there is still that part of being sensible with sunlight, and people aren't sensible with sunlight. Every time you go on holiday or every time you go out, there's those people that are as white as a ghost, and they are lying out there in the sun, and they're lying out there all day, and then by the end they look like a tomato. And I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting you get sensible sun exposure, because the parts that cause the burning, the parts that cause the burn in the first instance is the UVB, but that's also the bit that synthesizes. It's also the part of the spectrum of light that we need in order to synthesize vitamin D. Now, vitamin D has been shown time and time again to have positive effects with regards to bone health, positive health with regards to immune system function, and so there is a very clear link. I'm not going to say it's a causal link, I'm going to say it's a link between vitamin D status and the severity of symptoms for COVID. You just have to type in vitamin D and COVID now, because there's plenty of studies coming out left, right and centre that are showing a correlation, not causation, a correlation between higher vitamin D and lower severity, or low vitamin D, let's put it that way, low vitamin D levels and ICU admissions, or intensive care unit admissions, for people that have low and basement level vitamin D levels. But again, all I'm trying to get at is sunlight is much more than just about vitamin D. Sunlight is about the other wavelengths of light. So the blue helps with the vasodilation and lowering blood pressure. The green can help with pain. The green and the blue and the UV can help with skin conditions. The red can help with skin conditions. I mean, when was the last time you went outside with a cut? You went outside with a cut, you cut yourself in the summer, and you were outside, say it's on your hand, you're outside all the time, and you got a lot of sunlight on that cut, and it healed so much quicker than it did in the winter time. You got the same cut, it just healed. Now we could hypothesize that some of that is from the sunlight, some of that's just being outdoors and being healthier, because we know we're healthier in the summertime, and again that's partly to do with sunlight, partly to do with vitamin D. But is that solely vitamin D and the UVP part of the spectrum, or is it, can we say that actually some of it is the red and the infrared? Because obviously we're exposing a lot more skin, so we're getting a lot more red and infrared. And if you look at the studies by Hamblin, Zhang, Weinrich, then what you start to understand is that optical window of infrared light, or that optical window of red, deep red and near infrared, so between from 620, although that's pretty orange, all the way through to 850 up to maybe 910, we realise there is an optical window of deep penetration of those wavelengths of light. Not so much red, but the above 800 to 940, then we're looking at good penetration of light, especially in the 8 to 850 range. We've got good penetration there of very bioactive wavelengths of light. And what we can understand from that is the studies show that there's very, very favourable metabolic and anti-inflammatory results that are caused by those infrared or near-infrared wavelengths of light. As I say, if you just look at near-infrared and type in Hamblin or type in Zhang or type in Weinrich, then you'll start to see, if you type in photobiomodulation and anti-inflammatory or photobiomodulation and any kind of ailment, have a look at the studies behind it. There's so many. And so actually, is sunlight all about vitamin D, or is sunlight actually, is the silent partner in sunlight and sun exposure actually the red and the infrared? Because we know that the red and the infrared have very positive metabolic, very positive anti-inflammatory response, very positive healing responses. So that cut I was talking about that happens in the summer and heals very quickly, is that the near-infrared? Is that the near-infrared? Because they've done studies where they've shown that the recovery speed is up to 200% quicker with the addition of infrared light. It's the same with people that have cesarean sections. I read about it because I was looking at it for someone that's had a C-section, and they wanted to know whether they can put their red light on it and it will help. And I found a few studies that showed recovery times were much less with the addition of red light. And so is it actually all to do with vitamin D, or is it actually near-infrared, or is it a combination of both? For example, if you look at there was one particular study that looked at near-infrared light, and what they did was they shined this near-infrared light on fruit flies. Alright, so what you know about fruit flies is they don't last very long. They age particularly quickly. Their lifespan is very short. Alright, but what they did is they shined these red lights onto these fruit flies, these aged fruit flies. And what they found was that the near-infrared light was able to completely reverse all the age-related decline in memory, eyesight, and it increased all their mobility signs. And if you think about that, and you think, actually, is that why I feel better? Or is it a combination of vitamin D and the red and the infrared? So if they manage to reverse the age-related declines in eyesight, mobility, memory, if we are at the same time increasing whole body ATP levels, so we have more energy, if we are at the same time decreasing the reactive oxygen species, so we have decrease in inflammatory markers, and if we have decrease in inflammatory markers, then we have more energy to do other things, because we're not putting energy into inflammation and repair. We are able to do other things. So, is the sun exposure and daylight exposure hitting you with a double whammy of very beneficial things? Absolutely it is. But which is better? Which do we need more? I couldn't tell you. There's no studies that measure the difference between vitamin D improvements and that near-infrared optical window improvements. But I would gladly say that we need both. And that's the reason that you can buy UVB, I think they're called Sperti lamps, which are UVB and help you with vitamin D synthesis. But I don't sell those. I only sell the optical window near-infrared lights. And that's because I know about the improvements in memory, improvements in cognition, the improvements in eyesight, the improvements in whole body ATP, the improvements in inflammation, whole body inflammation, or specific inflammatory responses. I know about them, I've read about them, I feel them on a day-to-day basis. And therefore, I am fully aware of both aspects of benefits from the sunlight, and I still supplement now with the red light, with the near-infrared light. And if you are interested in actually being on tip-top form, then vitamin D levels need to be higher, probably higher than you are now. Because if you're Norwegian and we just come out of a Norwegian winter, to be fair, Scandinavians, because of the oily fish in the diet, they don't sink as low as, say, for example, some parts of northern France, some parts of England, Scotland and Ireland, but they'll still be lower than they could be. And I'm not saying, like, if you must supplement, then supplement. And in the winter, absolutely. But with supplementation, you can overdose. With the sun, you can also overdose if you're going to be silly and go out and get burnt. But if you have sensible sun exposure, increase your vitamin D levels, you will feel a humongous benefit. Because, as I say, vitamin D is a vitamin by label only, but how it acts in the body is far from a vitamin, because it has its hand in pretty much every system in your body. And then if we look at the red and the infrared, all you've got to think about is ATP as your energy currency. And if by getting more infrared light through that optical window, if you can get more infrared light, then the amount of energy that you have available to you will increase. It's as simple as that. Don't try and overcomplicate it. If you get enough red and infrared light, your inflammatory responses, or your whole body inflammation will drop down, and your available energy levels will increase. Simple dimple. Have a great day. Enjoy the light if you can.